Police say that they've arrested 565 suspected illegal miners at an abandoned shaft in Orkney in the northwest over the weekend. Acting National Police Commissioner Shadrack Sibia says preventing food and water from getting underground resulted in most of them resurfacing. Sibia says nearly 14,000 illegal miners have been arrested nationwide since last year.
We are registering commendable progress. We are making serious inroads in stamping the authority of the state. And we are working with the community. Members of the community are also assisting us, working with the community to make sure that we root out these illicit miners. Since last year, we arrested up to 13,691. In the Free State alone, we arrested 2,853. Limpopo is 2,758. In Gauteng is 2,595. And in Northwest, I don't have the figures here, but we also have more than 820 people arrested in Northwest.
Let's now speak to former Mineral Resources and Energy Committee Chairperson Sahlulele Luzipo, who is joining us live virtually. Sahlulele, a very good morning to you. Thank you so much for making time for us. Do you think that Operation Vala Umgodi is yielding the type of results that are required? But what happens with the intelligence that is gathered?
Good morning to you, Alvin, and good morning to your viewers. I think first, let's congratulate and appreciate the work that police have done and are continuing to do. And to some degree and to some extent, from a criminal point of view, I think these are the results that you will recall that part of the challenge that we raised was that when you look at illegal mining, it now poses what we call national security. It's a national security threat. And we think that collaboration and the fact that the coordination is at a higher level, even at the level of the presidents, and the collaboration between the police and the South African National Defence Force, including the intelligence service, it's beginning to yield those results. So I think we should appreciate to that extent. But as well as one also always argued that this is a multi-challenge exercise. For an example, you also need to look at cause and effects. Why do you have this phenomenon of illegal mining activities? And amongst other things is to look at the legislative framework, but also on the role that should be played by other key role players. For example, your Department of Justice, as well as especially the NDPP, as well as the judiciary, including in this exercise the work that has to be done in terms of international relations, as well as trade industry and competition, because in the ultimate end, this is illegal trading that is taking place, yes, in a criminal form, and therefore you need to get that cooperation amongst entities of the state, including government itself.
Yeah, well, Shadrack Sibia, in briefing the media on what has taken place here, says that they've been able to seize around 5 million rand in cash and uncut diamonds with 32 million, which means that we are literally dealing with an industry that is lucrative. But the big question that always remains is, who are the masterminds behind these? Who are the people who are buying the uncut diamonds as well as some of the minerals that is being excavated?
That's exactly the point. But also you need to make sure that your trade regulations are able to respond. As long as you've got a market, even outside the country, you will then find these challenges that relate to these illegal activities. And therefore, stricter regulations and trade, especially trade regulations, are required. And you will notice that you can arrest as many of those who are actually doing the activity of illegal mining. But those that are behind the activity, which is, as you have stated clearly, the actual role players, the traders in illegal activity, are the ones that at the end of the day will need to close the tap on. That is why my argument is that you need to then make sure that other entities, they play their role. You also, and I think it's unfortunate that what one might say might create controversy, but I always argue that it is an untenable situation in South Africa that you get that the majority of those people at the end of the day that are doing these activities are non-South African. And therefore, the issue is that SADC in particular must begin to respond to these kind of activities so that you are able to block the coming in of people who are not necessarily South African. And in that instance, that's why we want to argue that you need also to make sure that the Department of International Relations plays a very effective role and to make sure that we address some of these anomalies that exist in relation to these criminal activities. But yes, I can safely say that this to me is part of the continuation of criminal syndicates. It just depends on which sector where it is taking place.
Yeah. But how would international relations help with this? Because what we do know is that some of them, as you've indicated, are illegally in the country. So they've broken their own country's rules. And then on top of that, our Minister of Mineral Resources last year had also accused Lesotho of not doing enough to prevent some of the Basotho from leaving their country into South Africa to come and be part of this illegal activity. So what more can be done from an international diplomatic space?
Look, when I'm saying at an international level, obviously, as I've stated, that when you look, you also have got international trade activities that are taking place. Specifically, especially on gold, as you have stated, on diamonds, we've got some serious regulations when it comes to diamonds, but gold is one of the problems. So whatever you do at an international trade level, it will require the role that must be played by international relations. But also linked to this is the fact that, as you have stated, that these are most of these are undocumented foreign nationals. That also reflects on the problem that we have said, that there is a need for to play this role. And you can only play the role of coordination at a certain level if you've got this engagement. I don't think the issue of accusations that are leveled should against any of the SADC countries should limit the engagement that are supposed to take place, so that when these activities are taking place, also these countries must take responsibility of making sure that such individuals are not doing these things as if they are sanctioned by those particular countries. I don't want to single and say it's only Lesotho. If you look, for an example, on the recent case, the majority of the people that seem, and I may not be correct, that seems to have been arrested are also from Mozambique. So I'm saying a tighter coordination and management of human movement is actually required, and it cannot be done by one single department. There must be a multi-pronged strategy. The last point is that you also need to make sure that when you do these activities, there is a tighter case, and which means that our judiciary as well as the prosecution authorities are able to make sure that we've got a tighter case. It should not just be arrest and then deportation. There must be a determined effort to make sure that consequences also for those who are found outside of the law are effected.
Yeah, I was actually wondering, of those 14,000 that have been arrested since last year, how many of those are actually repeat offenders? But thank you so much for your time. I appreciate the information that you've shared with us so far.